Okay, good morning, everyone in the 5 continents. Today we have our 63rd international meeting, and our guest this morning is Marina Gonzalez from Argentina. Thank you so much, Marina Gonzalez, for having accepted the invitation to share your experience, your expertise, and the most important, your generosity. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you, Jaime. As always, it's a pleasure. It's a wonderful moment to meet with friends. I can see Araceli already there. Well, of course, I remember Roxana from previous meetings, and Irma and Anthony and Raj. I had the opportunity to follow. I'm sorry, some Sundays are difficult for me, but sometimes I watch the meetings during the week whenever I have a little bit of time, and they are really important for the region, as I always tell you, Jaime. I mean, this thing is very important for all of us.
Okay, now let me share my screen and say something about what is going to happen. Okay, so international English online meetings were born last year because of the pandemic, and I need somebody to read this. Anybody? $20.
A teacher is a compass that activates the magnets of curiosity, knowledge, and wisdom. Oh my goodness, everything is in there.
Yes. Anything to say, Raj? Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, next one, please. Anyone?
A truly amazing English teacher is hard to find, harder to leave, and impossible to forget.
Wow.
Yes, that's true, Silvina. Anything to say, Silvina, about this?
Oh, welcome to this wonderful morning, and thank you, Marina, and thank you everyone for being here. It's a pleasure to keep sharing with colleagues and friends. Thank you very much for another international meeting.
Yes, thank God, thank God. Araceli in Mexico, could you please give us a hand?
No.
Of course, better than 1,000 days of diligent study is one day with a great teacher.
Anything, Araceli, to say?
Well, that's why I am here with
Yes.
great teachers.
Usually,
I wanted to be with you before the year ends and to say that I am always there. Sometimes I'm cooking.
But you are there.
But I am always there with you. I just want
Thank you so much, Araceli. And finally, Marina, this must be for you.
So it's to teach is to learn twice over. Yeah. I think that all of these hopefully will be connected to what I would like to share with you today.
Great. Okay, so all the videos, you can see them, you can watch them in this channel. And who is presenting at the end of the year? We were supposed to have the next meeting the 12th, but it will be the 19th. And we will be talking, it will be the 19th. Because we will send you Christmas gifts to everyone. I don't know how. I don't know how, but I don't know, but you will get them. I don't know when and how. Okay, so today we have our good friend Marina Gonzalez. She is an EFL teacher and program administrator specialized in university settings based in Buenos Aires, Argentina. She coordinates the language program at Universidad Nacional de J.C. Paz. Sorry?
José de Paz. UNPAZ.
Okay. One of the youngest state universities in the province of Buenos Aires. Her main concern is the development of the EFL area in Latin America, particularly in adult populations in state programs. She has designed and run various language programs at different universities, taught ELT management and material design for a decade, and now she focuses on the design and growth of new spaces in EFL. So let's give Marina Gonzalez a warm round of virtual applauses. And thank you so much once again, dear Marina. So the screen,
my pleasure. It's really my pleasure. So let me share my screen
Please do.
and get things organized.
Yeah.
Just a minute, because as always, things, okay, and it should be like the, all right, is that okay?
Perfect.
Perfect. Okay, so the idea for today is to start asking questions and thinking together, okay, about this new reality that I am living. I mean, as Jaime mentioned, I mean, I've been working in university settings for most of my career, but this late challenge, the latest challenge is creating a teacher education program at university. Okay, you know, it's not very common to create English teacher education programs. So this is what I mean, what I want to share with you, and mostly what I want to start thinking, because when all of us studied, the paradigms were different than what they are now. So the first thing that I want to get started with is with some opening questions, okay? And I know that, something that I love from these meetings is that everybody has something to say. So I do welcome all comments in this very first part, okay?
Thank you.
The first questions that I start with is, who do we teach English to? Okay. Do we teach EFL, ESL, ESP, EAP, any other? Why do we teach English? What do we teach English for? Where do we teach English? So if you want, if you can we share the experiences that each one of you is having? I mean, for example, who do we teach English to in each of your cases? For example, in my case, I'm teaching future teachers of English. This is my field, okay? Who do you teach English to?
I also teach future teachers and also university students.
Okay.
Next,
all right.
Next, please.
Who else? Irma?
Okay, sure. I have two kinds of groups of students. We are going to be starting a TEFL program. That means students are going to be English teachers at the end of the program. But I also have a group of independent adults. They just want to learn English. They want to know the language because they feel a little bit on the side because they never learn it. Okay, so those are the two groups that I have.
Thanks, Irmina. And what about you, Araceli?
Let me turn my mic on. Okay, I teach in a program. I teach future English teachers, but I also teach in a master's program. In a master's program of English teaching. So I teach actual English teachers and future English teachers.
Absolutely. Okay. Now, if we think about this, we are part of the minority of audiences, okay? Because most people teach English to young learners at schools or in private academies or language schools, adolescents, okay? Or they teach adults in various programs. So we have at least 5 different kinds of main audiences, okay? Then, of course, some of us teach EFL, some of us teach ESP or EAP, okay? And then the reasons why we teach English, okay? Is it because it's mandatory in the curriculum? Is it because we have discovered a new trait that we want to explore? Is it something that we want to ensure the right of people of, in terms of access to languages or to professional development? Or because certain population is restrained from access to something because they don't manage, okay? And so this is, of course, always the why and the what for are generally related, right? And then where do we teach English? Do we teach at universities, at private universities, at state universities, at private schools, public schools, academies, your own institute? All the combinations of answers to these questions create different scenarios, and each scenario has a different logic, okay, which is valid in itself. And this is something important because sometimes we talk about the EFL context, and the EFL context is a myriad of contexts, and there is not one unique thing to consider, but many. And the greatest thing of a situation like this one is that we can learn from the experiences of others, or from the answers that others have obtained, which is not necessarily borrowing without thinking and just enforcing them into your reality, but checking and having some point of comparison with other things. So this is something that I consider, that whenever you start thinking about teaching English to anybody, you need to define your domain, right? Your domain is not everything. And if you know something from another place, it may be valid, even as what Araceli was saying. I mean, I taught 10 years in the postgraduate degree for graduate English teachers. And it's absolutely different from teaching at initial teacher education. It's absolutely different. It would have been an incredible, a very strong mistake if I thought that the other design could be applied directly here, okay? So this is first thing, the idea of having multi-universes, okay? And if you think that I am marked by Marvel comics, you're right. Okay, all these movies are very important. Now, as I mentioned, right, when many of us studied, the context was different. I mean, in my personal case, which is historically, not personally relevant, but historically relevant, I started my higher education studies on the same years that the Malvinas War broke out, okay? So it was a very strange context in which you were learning to become an English professional while your country was in the ends of the dictatorship, with a crazy person who decided that we were going to fight against the English for a cause that we will fight forever, we will sustain forever, because Malvinas are Argentinas, okay?
Yes, they
but
are.
It was a very strange context, okay? And it's not the context now. So if we think about some of the key discussions in the field nowadays, I think that one of the biggest things that we are discussing in our region is democratization of knowledge, okay? And when we talk about democratization of knowledge, is the access that everybody has to knowing, to learning, to being a better person, not somebody telling you what you can learn or not somebody from outside or defining your interests before you are even able to do so. And I'm talking about external agendas put into learning. And this immediately brings into play two concepts. The concept of curricular justice, okay? This is a rather recent concept, at least for me, okay? But I am not a specialist in this. My friend Eugenia Carrion is, but not me. In terms of the access to a curriculum that has been thought in a way that you become a more autonomous person. It's not only content, it's abilities, and it's the possibility of access, together with, because if we think about curricular justice, is like our regional curriculum, okay, the government bylaws, etc. But at the same time, we have in our EFL field the struggle to maintain the status of native speakerism. Okay, this is a very important struggle that has been on stage, what, 20 years minimum. All right, and if we think in international terms, okay, in the past 4 or 5 years is when we can see people from our region taking a stand in international organizations and speaking about this. And I want to make a strong mention to Silvana Richardson. All right, Silvana stood in front in the international scene, okay, and talked about how fake the native speaker concept was, but this had already been discussed theoretically before, right, after Chomsky. But when it comes, I don't know in your countries, but you must have the advertisements of Open English in your countries. Don't you have them on your TVs all the time?
Yes,
right?
we
Or
do.
these, don't you? Okay, and these people make money out of the prejudice stated in people's minds and the prejudice of possible learners. Okay, and this is not necessarily good teaching. Most of it is ungrounded. If it is grounded, it's grounded in theories that have been proved inefficient or old. Okay, but when you characterize the state of the art in the teaching of languages, okay, we may accept that the concept of native speaker is valid nowadays in cases like sign language, for example, or minority languages, because there hasn't been a growth, okay, that allows for further theory and investment on materials and investment on the creation of other things. But this is because these languages have a parallel agenda that is as important as the language itself, okay? But in our case, we have a contrast between what is supposed to happen at schools in formal education and the original speakers of a language who are a minority, okay, who are, many of them are extremely valid, but those who are not prepared to teach the language are not valid, okay? And these two things, at least, and I'm not going deeper into this, but at least the concept of curricular justice comes into play with the concept of critical literacy, okay? We started talking about this with, when we started with 21st century skills, all right? And it's not only critical literacy, but critical media literacy. In a world full of fake news, of people who think that the earth is flat, or people who think that vaccines are going to bring chips in your bodies, literacy, critical literacy is of utmost importance. And together with this, of course, is the role of women in education. We are the vast majority, all right, of people in education, and very few of us are ministers of education. And of course, and with all due respect to the different traditions and beliefs of each country and culture, we have the issue of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't know what happens in your countries, but the amount of femicides that take place in my country is astounding.
The same here in Peru, Marina. It's the same here in Peru.
Okay.
Lots of crimes against women. Yeah.
Exactly. And to the trans community and attacks to gay people because of being gay. I mean, and these are things that go to our to education, go to teaching. If when we teach language, we teach people to express who they are, we must address this agenda. And really, when I studied, nothing, none of these things were even considered. Not that they, of course they existed, but none of them were considered. So we cannot, I cannot think about teaching future English teachers without at least thinking about these discussions, all right? And to round off, all the number of questions and lines of interest that I'm opening is, again, within the fight against native speakerism, all right? It's the decolonization of teaching and learning, which is, you must have had this in your own, but I always love the example of the image of houses in EFL textbooks. Nobody has a detached house in our, I mean, nobody, no, yes, very few people, the 3% of rich people in our country have the kind of houses that English textbooks show as normal. There was a very interesting, one of the talks, the previous talks about intercultural communication, and there were many examples on this, but I just wanted to bring an example. I always remember many years ago, like 10 years ago, our Bolivian sisters at the TESOL convention. I had never thought of that because I was middle class, capital city teacher. Okay, it was not part of my reality till now, and until they said, but if we don't work, or if we don't say who we are, then what do we teach? And that was a change in my career. That was a change, because that was the moment when I started thinking about this. It's like, what? Of course, and considering, and that's why then I kept on working on materials, etc. And the last thing that adds to all this, I love it, because if we think about this from a complexity perspective, this is not a salad. I am not making a mess of things. I'm just putting all the points of tension that act and that put pressure on each other and create different scenarios, okay? But the last one is racism in ELT, okay? We have lived this. Many of us, with our accent, with this thing about trying to, I remember that when I studied, you were supposed to produce BBC production, and there were many teachers who were not allowed to graduate until they managed their phonetics, and they had probably an accent, and people dropped out. For example, they had 95% of their course of studies, and they were not able to pass that exam.
Is that true, Marina?
Yeah.
Oh my.
Only I mean, because whenever you have an elite concept of the language, and a concept that expects you, and I think that there's an Argentine fellow here, and she will probably right or wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong. But if you have a concept in which what you are supposed is to replicate a model who you are not, because you are not, but you're trying to be somebody else, and you don't achieve it, then you can't do it. I mean, I think that and it's my personal opinion, of course, but as Argentinian, we owe many of the countries in the region this fight, because you led this fight before we did. Argentina is a country that still considers to be Europe in Latin America. Okay, and of course they are less. Okay, the belief is it's not so many people thinking the same, but it's still valid. So, and I remember, I mean, again in a TESOL conference, checking, you know, when you go to the book display and you check if there's something, and there were people hiring for online courses, and I remember that I checked with somebody, and this woman with a very, very strong Southern accent told me that they hired people without an accent. I was like, oh, all right, love.
Okay.
Could you give us a couple of minutes, Marina, so you can drink some water and people can express their point of view about these 4 very important issues?
Absolutely.
Okay, anybody who wants to express his or her opinion very briefly about one of these very important issues?
Thank you, Mr. Jaime. Good morning and greetings to all the audience today in Facebook and Zoom, that we have a lot of teachers and people from around the world. It's a pleasure to be here, and I would like to say that this topic is really interesting, and I am amazed for this kind of topics that every Sunday are brought by these nice people that has the greatest pleasure to be here with us. So in this moment, I would like to say that the atmosphere is different in every country. As Ms. Gonzalez says, in Argentina, they have maybe an European point of view, or is kind of different. Here in Ecuador, the atmosphere is different. Most of the people that usually look for an English teacher is because they have different reasons, but most of them, they want to migrate to have a better condition, better standard of life. And that is something. For example, there are people who applied for the lottery or visas of the United States, and I have in my life, I have 2 students, they have won, and they look for me because they wanted to have a basic vocabulary. So when they get there, they don't find everything new. So they have looked for me, and I have been teaching them. So 2 winners of the lottery.
Immigration was an issue in Argentina in the 1990s. Yes.
Okay.
And after that, other people who are looking for they are looking for going to the USA because they want to improve their condition of life. In Ecuador, there is not enough job, or maybe you don't earn too much like in other countries. And the other thing is, the happiest countries in the world, the standard of life. For example, Vancouver is the city that, according to the standard, is the best city to live in the world. Everybody wants to go to Canada or maybe to Vancouver, this city. And Australia, New Zealand, things like that.
Excuse me, Peru. Mister. I love Peru, Carlos.
Yeah, I know. There's nothing like your country, but don't forget that nobody is a prophet in your land. Just remember that. For example, you love your country, I love my country, but if I want to be a millionaire, I know that here in Ecuador, I won't be.
I have a million friends, Carlos. I have a million friends, and that's enough. Araceli in Mexico.
Absolutely.
You said something about the accent, Araceli.
Well, yes, I said, because Marina was talking about accents, that sometimes students judge teachers by their accent or pronunciation, and they prefer to take some classes with them, and they are not judged by their knowledge or by their teaching skills. But in general, Marina, thank you for bringing these topics. I think that it is not comfortable to talk about these issues in the classroom, especially when we are facing them around. Yes, in Mexico, even families do not dare talking about these issues of violence or discrimination. So teachers do not want to touch those issues. But I agree, completely agree. It is time. It is the time to bring these issues into the classroom and face them as they are, like with sexual harassment, discrimination, because in Mexico we have a lot of discrimination and we discriminate our peers. And we have to talk about this also, the LGBT and plus community. Here in Mexico, it's a big thing, and there are teachers or there are people who still do not want to acknowledge that they have exactly the same rights as everybody or that.
Thank you, Araceli, the
Thank
ambassador
you.
from Mexico. And we another
Now,
ambassador.
Marco is also here.
Yeah. Any other opinion, please? Raj, Irma, Silvina, Angelina, Maria Teresa, Marco.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Marina, this is so helpful in the sense that you started by saying teach in a global context, because English is sort of the language which people believe that if I learn that, I can live anywhere in the world. So, you know, teaching from the global context was one thing. The other part you mentioned was that it's important that we recognize that teachers are not just teaching English, they are educating in how to live life. And so these are the bigger components of what life is about, you know, decolonizing and things like that. Even further explaining what does decolonizing mean, you know, because we again use certain phrases, which again, people may not fully understand what that term means. A really important topic to discuss. Thank you.
Okay, back to you, Marina.
Okay, yeah, really, if I started explaining each case, it would take us a seminar. So I said, well, just pointing, but two points, the two comments that are very important. It's, of course, whatever I say is not something that I want to take as general a truth or anything, but an experience. And of course, defining terms, okay, is a key issue to make sure that we're talking about the same thing. Okay, absolutely. But the idea of decolonization is the idea of decentering. Okay, it's and again, if we go to typical or classical books for the teaching of English, there is only little movement taking place nowadays, and some people from our region who we have to thank for is there are some Brazilian teachers who have been producing very interesting materials. I don't know if you know, you've heard about the Raise Up project. The Raise Up is Jim Taylor and Ila Coimbra as editors, and they have gathered a group of people who help in the production of materials that are sold, but the money that comes from those materials is used to support certain situations, either a homeless shelter or a shelter for people from the LGBTQ plus community. It's a very, very interesting project where they start opening these units like older adults, for example, okay? A unit on older adults, not treating them as people who are expendable, but a group of citizens who have their own right, about identity and things of the sort, okay? So after this very general concept, oops, what's happening? Okay, so to summarize this, I would say that our teaching in terms of the people with whom I work, our teaching identity is our personal synthesis of the different answers to the questions on language and the present tensions in our field, okay? Each of us may consider different part of the questions I mentioned and have a certain standpoint on the different issues, and that is going to be our teaching identity, okay? And as I mentioned, there are many. And another key point in general terms is that life nowadays is not either or, it is both and, okay? And I had this phrase in mind and I didn't know where it came to me. And the quote I found was from Royce White, and Royce White is a basketball player, but he became politically engaged after the George Floyd murder. And this is again what related to what Araceli and Raj and Irma were saying, that is, we are living times of inclusion, and these times of inclusion are not, we were not raised in that world. We were raised in the world of either or, good or bad, right or wrong. And it is a challenge. I mean, all the LGBTQ thing, I ask my daughter all the time whether I'm using the right term or if I am not being cited. It's something new. It's something new for me. So I just wanted to share this as one of the challenges that I face when I'm trying to think things for future generations. So in this sense, I wanted to share something from the region, something that I love. I'm not a TikToker, but the other day I found this video by Salma Hayek on her role in the Eternal. So I hope that you can listen to it. Anyway, it comes with subtitles, but
okay.
Let's see. Wait, what happened?
By the way, you could be an excellent TikToker talking about these issues, Marina. You would be famous all over the 5 continents.
Al ver mi cara, vi tu cara, vi mi cara niña que tuvo que tener tanto valor para las uñas grandes, vi la cara de todas las niñas, y me di cuenta que se había abierto una puerta donde yo no entraba sola, sino que dentro de su traje íbamos todos los que hemos esperado tanto este momento.
Okay. I can't help but cry whenever I watch her. But I think that if I can say, or it's something that we have talked many times with Gabriela Maggioli, it's like whenever we have the chance to take part in the international scene, we are overwhelmed because we know that it's not us, it's opening. All right, it's when, I mean, Silvana gave the plenary in IATEFL 3 years ago. After the following year, it was Gabriel opening plenary, and now Gabriel is the president of IATEFL. And after that, it was Paulita Rebolledo giving the plenary. So there have been 3 Latinos in a row speaking for opening an international conference, right? So we have produced excellent professionals, all right? And it is important to keep on helping future professionals develop in such, at the same level or even better, because this is what I love what Salma says is there is a door that has already been opened for many more people to come. all right? And when we start talking about opening the door for more people to come, we're talking about inclusion, all right? And the challenges that inclusion brings when we are talking about language, okay? So if I may move now, narrow this to my specific context, okay? The main trait of my context is this. It's the location is José de Paz, which is something that Jaime always looks at when he has to read because he doesn't know what I mean. And I thank him
that's
so
true,
much.
That's true.
Buenos Aires is a metropole as Lima is, okay? And the outskirts is what we call conurbano. And they are like different rings, okay, in the conurbano. And the farther you get from the capital city, the poorer it is, okay? So first ring is mansions, or I mean, people, residential areas of variety, more to the north, to the east and south, not so much. Second, okay, also this combination. And the third ring is where José de Paz is, okay? And it's an area that basically where lots of workers live, okay? Workers who have, many of them who have not finished their studies, workers who have, very few of them attended university, okay? And in the case of José de Paz specifically, it used to be a bigger district, and in 1990s, it was cut into pieces, and this is the poorest district. It was a district that was left with no industries. They only have one industry, which is one of ceramics, okay? But all the other industries are in the other districts. So there was a decision to focus on teaching and learning. There was a decision to improve the education of those workers, because the value of that district lies in the people, okay? Because there is, because that's what there is. That's what the district is about. So, and it's mainly, densely populated, okay? Because there are 71,000 students, all right? In general, okay, and there are 168 schools. With diverse educational trajectories, okay? People who have had excellent schools, and some people who have had very poor schooling, okay? This is also related to the lack of teachers available for the different subjects, and poverty, and the variety. And in the midst of all this, a university appears, okay? This, what I mean, Universidad del Bicentenario, it's because these are universities that were created during, Universidad del Conurbano started in the 90s. The first set of universities started in the 90s. And then there was another set of universities, which are the Universidad del Bicentenario, that were created in 2010, all right, during the government of Cristina Fernández de Kirchner, and who have this important trait of belonging to the territory, being an answer to what the people wanted, because our main university is the University of Buenos Aires, and people had to travel 2 hours, some of them, okay, to attend university, which made it almost impossible for most of the people. And it left a lot of people outside the possibilities of further education. It's a very young university, and you know, well, those who know me know that I specialize in management. So I give these traits of universities because when you think about management, organizations undergo different stages, and between 5 and 20 years of a university is that period is the time when the future structure is built, okay? So our work in this university with the Programa Integral de Formación en Lenguas, which was a project that was to change the concept of oh, the language school that is external to, and is basically for external audiences, we created a program that would help degree students, postgraduate students, researchers, and the general community. And after this was created, which was 4 years ago, in the middle of the pandemic, there was a decision to create a teacher education program. And as Raj said, in terms of the things that we changed, we no longer talk about teacher training, which was the name that we used to have, but teacher education programs. We don't want to train teachers. We want to educate people who want to be teachers of English. So this is the situation of our university. And the decision from our head was to make it inclusive, because our our university is inclusive. So what does it mean? It meant that we were decided not to place any restriction on the basis of language. All right, and this is a revolution. I mean, there are previous examples of this. I myself did a project, in the early 90s in the province of Buenos Aires, okay? And now we have a governmental organization that has applied, which is the UNPAZ, which has applied many of these changes in many of the provinces of Buenos Aires, because the point is that what is accepted as a truth, that is, people have to know English before starting to become a teacher, is the only major of all teacher education programs that has this demand. Nobody is asked to know biology before starting to be a biology teacher, not mathematics, not geography, okay? Basically, what you know from your public education, okay? So this is what we are doing. It may sound revolutionary, but we're only accepting the reality of public education. People have been in classes of English for the minimum 6 years, the maximum 12. How come it is still accepted to say from us, people, teachers in higher education, students have no knowledge of English? We are responsible for that. We cannot say without a shade of doubt or a shade of shame that our students don't know, because if they don't know, it's because of us. It's not because of them. So I'm sorry, I get too passionate about this.
No, that's okay. Could you give us 1 more minute to say hello to Nasser from Morocco, very, very far away from our continent? Welcome, Nasser. And Anthony, Michael, you were mentioning something very important in the chat. Could you please express it briefly?
Well, hey, teacher, how are you doing? Thank you so much for, I'm very, very happy to be here with you. And I have the honor for being with you. Thank you so much for this great opportunity from you, teacher.
Thank you, dear Nasser. Back to you, Anthony.
Thank you very much. First and foremost, Ms. Gonzalez, you have aroused some certain things that have been on fire in my heart and in my mind. Thank you very much. It was really, really good. I try to dissect what you are trying to say and how we can, put it in practice, because that's why we are here, to learn. So I was saying that first and foremost, this presentation is very diverse. It includes the metaphysics of English language teaching, which involves, looking at the content and the need and the audience. Sometimes we don't even look at some of these things. We just go to the class and start talking English. And then I also look at when you are talking about the political aspect of the English language teaching, it is a very serious discourse between the cosmopolitans, those who believe that there is this global standard for everybody to follow, and the nationalists who believe that you can, incorporate English language within the purview of where it is taught. It is a very big issue the idea of British English, American English, all those kind of stuff. And also look at in my own opinion, I was talking about, customizing it, whereby our students will learn through their own realities. And this is what you are trying to, express right now in talking about how long students have stayed in class and yet they haven't grasped those fundamental things. And then finally, I was also looking at the decentralization of knowledge, decolonization of English language standard. A standard for me in the sense that teachers should not be judged based on their accents, because there is this one global English which we can speak differently. So thank you very much. That's what I'm trying to look at. Thanks a lot. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Back to you, Marina.
Thanks. Thanks for this incredible reading of a detailed reading of my presentation. And I'm going to try to give you the answer that we are walking, okay, that we are experiencing. So in this specific case of our teacher education program, okay, we discovered that our audience, which is, we had 800 people registered for the program, okay? It is massive. We found that 50% had minimum knowledge, okay? And this is something also to discriminate, because people have learned, we cannot forget what is called el oficio del alumno, right? Even though that is, how you have learned to be a student throughout your all your schooling. So when somebody asks you something, wait. There is a tendency to, or there can be a tendency to try to not to go against your interests, okay? So sometimes trying to say that you know less than what you know is something that you might think is in your favor, because what you're going to face is going to be easier than what you wanted, okay? So these are elements that we need to study in the coming years, okay? But in the case of José de Paz, what we have is mostly people with very low self-esteem. People who have been told all the time that they don't know, that they cannot, that they are not good enough, okay? So then what we found was that we had 50% of people with minimum knowledge, 25% who were roughly pre-intermediate, and 25% who were intermediate, and that was the entry level for the teacher education program. What did we do? What we did was to draft descriptors. Okay, this is what I'm going to show you now, specifically our answer. We designed content and we designed materials, okay? Because it is a teacher education program for people with limitations, and we wanted it to be face-to-face, but COVID did not allow us to do so. So we had to start in the most difficult of circumstances, which was to a population with restricted access to technology, to a limited knowledge of many things. We had to start teaching in a distance mode, okay? In a virtual mode. So first, the descriptors, okay? Because we wanted to know what we were doing and to define ranges for the people, because we were not going to be able to find one specific level. We knew that we had to divide them into ranges, okay? And so what we did was to draw a correlation between the ACTFL, okay, which is the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages. I don't know if you use these descriptors, which are really good because they are not used for English. They're used for other languages taught as a foreign language, which is, so we borrow the importance of foreign languages from there. And besides, the description of the upper levels is better than than December. Then the Canadian benchmarks, which are a very thorough description and constant project that defines the language for people who want to become citizens of Canada. So Carlos, for those people of yours who want to go to live in Vancouver, I suggest you use these benchmarks. They are extremely useful. And then the Common European Framework of Reference. Okay, so we worked on the correlation, and the two samples that I have here, we divided them into reading, writing, listening, and speaking. If any of you wants them, I can send them to you. So it's a work in progress. But what we did was to define how people started, okay, in our CPI. Our CPI is the trajectory that that we designed for people who want to be English teachers, and in terms of Zoolander, people who want to be English teachers but who cannot speak English well. All right, so there were different trajectories, and we wanted to define who would be placed in each trajectory, because people who are in the CPI A take the university invests 1 year in teaching them intensively English, and the people who are pre-intermediate, who are Trayecto B, they go to immersion for 1 term. Okay, so in the case of CPIA, we are adding 300 hours of teaching. Okay, and in the case of CPIB, it's 150. Okay, I'm not going to go deep into descriptors, but this is it. So if you see, who did we put into A? People who can produce short, simple, isolated phrases in highly predictable everyday topics. So they're the people who can say, hello, my name is, I live with my parents, I have a dog. Many phrases that are like, they have been like ingrained in their brains, right, by constant repetition in classroom practice. Okay, it's I like dogs, I don't like cockroaches, right? These things, like I have seen exams in ESP with people saying I don't like cockroaches. Like, who would? Why are you telling me? I mean,
maybe there are some countries where they do like them.
Well, probably to eat.
Maybe
high in protein.
Maybe.
Well,
who knows?
Talking about tolerance of differences, there you have it, a topic there.
You got me, Irma.
Yeah, in the
right.
jungle of Peru.
I was thinking about social linguistic repertoire, really.
Right.
In the jungle of Peru, they do eat worms.
The worms, yeah.
And ants.
Well, and the tequila with worms inside.
Yes,
no?
That's true.
Sure. What I mean is, it's that the phrase "I like dogs, I don't like cockroaches" comes in a setting where you're talking about pets. You're not talking about food. So but thanks for all the comments, because they are absolutely to the point. Okay, so but another thing in terms of the descriptor that is important is the incorporating the fact of speed in production, right? I mean, we take the fact of pausing as a flow, and if we consider the concept of interlanguage, okay, or Selinger's concept of different creations of language in different moments, pausing is necessary when you're starting to learn a language. Okay, so it is typical of that level. It's not when we stop. In general, our stop comes with a rolling of our eyes, and that has to do with the mental process that we're doing, that is finding the perfect word or the perfect term for what we want to say, but it's not because we don't know it. So it's different. Pauses in different moments of your language development mean different things. But we found we needed to include the importance of pauses for teachers, because teachers are not generally educated in terms of working with descriptors. So what they do is they replicate their own learning history, and then they don't consider things like pauses, rewordings, okay, or even silence, which is I think that Rebecca Oxford's work on learning strategies is seminal for all this. Then the idea of the speaker's speech, including combinations of learned phrases and other things, okay? But you cannot ask beginners to produce new language when the topics of expression are everyday topics, okay? So I don't have time to continue with this, but what we did was to define the descriptors so that they were not only for the students, but mainly for the teachers, as a way of educating the teachers in this new situation, okay? Then we designed content. We had to design the syllabi, okay? And I'm just giving you a sample of one of the units in Trayecto B. They were organized in terms of lexical areas, okay? What you find here this is the key that creates all the other things, okay? So if we're going, the lexicon is going to bring or to be related to the reading and the reading and oral comprehension, writing, grammar, and what was necessary to review, okay? Of course, this comes from a combination of the lexical approach and task-based learning, okay? But it's important to say that if we have a year to teach these people a lot of language, we need to start from meaning and not from form. We need to start from meaning that is supported by form. So then when you start talking about geography, adventure, and experiences, okay, when we talk about geography, we immediately go to maps, places, descriptive language, okay? Adventure, the idea of hypothesizing, okay? If I could do this, all right? Or narratives, which goes hand in hand with experiences, okay? And there you have, if you see, in terms of reading, okay? I'm not going to go to grammar because it's the first association that we would do. But if we go to reading, we have the idea of skimming and scanning, okay? Leaflets, maps, all that kind of stuff, finding cognates, okay? Right, names of places, sequencing, okay? And of course, when you go into sequencing, immediately in terms of grammar, you have connectors, okay? Right, but this is how we try to produce a syllabus of contents that would be related, that would make sense, okay? Not, for example, to put here, I don't know, some unrelated concept. I cannot think of this because I'm trying too hard to be coherent, so I can't think outside the box in this moment, okay? And after this, okay, well, to round this off, okay, the idea of writing, you see that is connected with reading and with speaking, and it's not only grammar but also reviewing, okay, revising. We forget to revise questions, right? Yes, no questions. So then, imagine, taking part of a situation like this, okay, which is what Jaime does. Okay, now, anybody comment, or would you like to ask anything? And if we were like only strict in terms of presenting, we cannot change, okay? We are not pragmatically apt, okay? So this is what we are trying to work on. And after having worked on the descriptors, worked on contents, we had to design materials, because as we said, we are a university that works with workers, okay? Sons of workers, the pride of those workers' parents, okay? And we needed first to work on identity, but also to work by resorting to free resources, okay? So that we wouldn't have a problem of copyright, okay? Because it's not a reality for us to buy books, okay? I mean, we do buy books for the library so that students can come and study at the library, okay? Or they can borrow from the library. But it's not, but if we think that we're going to select this or that book and our students are going to go buy it, we are missing the target, okay? We are not being coherent with the discourse. We're telling them that everybody can, but we're giving them a demand that they cannot complete. So there was an enormous work from the team that works with me, Erika Ledesma, Natalia Guardo, Julia Bustos, Carolina Gonzalez, and many others, in selecting and working on materials, not only to adapt what was available, but also to give a defining Latin American look and definition. Okay, of course, all of this has been produced in this term. We will be testing it again next term, and we will be working on definitions and adaptations and okay. And this is something that is specifically for the CPI, okay? For the people who don't know and need to learn English in order to be able to start studying the subjects that are in English. Because when students enter the education program, they study English, and they also have some general pedagogical subjects in Spanish. And they can attend those subjects, but they cannot attend any of the English subjects until they have passed this CPI, okay? So our challenges ahead, okay? Because we are teaching a lot, but something that we learned in the past is that teaching is not equal to learning. So now we have just finished classes, and we have had a very intense 4-month term, and we have 3 months of holidays in between. So what are we doing? The picture that you can see is a picture taken by me, and I am so proud of my picture, because these are, it's Carolina and Cecilia, 2 of the teachers of the CPI, doing a workshop on yoga and meditation. Because what we decided to do during the summer is theoretically to strengthen as much as we can, the connection between teaching and acquisition. And we are going to work on these 3 months that they don't have specific classes on actions that can help towards acquisition. First is a set of 10 workshops we are delivering during the month of December. Yoga and meditation is one. There was one on virtual cooking, a virtual one on cooking. So people cooked from their homes and they shared recipes. We already had a karaoke that I'm going to show as the last piece, all right? Where not only students were faced with something new, but also teachers, because it's not that they are yoga teachers. They are English teachers who also practice yoga. So it was a challenge for them to find something that they like as individuals, to share it with students in English. So they also had to prepare, and it was an intense give and take in terms of what can we teach? Oh, I don't know. I have no skills whatsoever. Come on, there's something. Yes, oh, I can cook, or I know folklore. So we are going to have a folk dance workshop next week, for example. Okay, so this is what we are doing now. Okay, and the last thing I want to share with you is a snippet of a small video from the karaoke workshop. Okay, and Micaela, the person here being recorded, was kind enough to allow me to share it with you. So I hope I can play it.
Okay.
No. Wait. Let me see. Yes, here it is.
So this song is about heartbreak, and I wanted to share it with you.
Could you turn up the volume, Marina?
Yes, this is what I'm trying to do. Let me see the volume. Thanks for your patience.
Don't worry, we have lots of it.
Let's see. Yeah, because it's ouch. Let's see, because sometimes depending on, can you hear now?
Yeah, it's okay now.
Okay, so let's go to the beginning. So she's explaining why she's going to sing the song, okay?
So this song is about heartbreak, and I wanted to share it with you.
So that we're keeping the protocols and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just a bit of. Okay. Can you hear everybody singing with her?
Yes.
Okay, I am so proud of these people, because I think that we are trying we are trying to achieve the fundamental purpose of language, that is to share who we are, and to be accompanied by others. Okay, so with all this, I just want to give the credit, because I always use free software and free things, and thank you all for following me in this presentation, and I'm all here for questions. Okay. So
Okay. Thank you so much, dear Marina in Argentina. I have to confess that I am one of your fans. I always like, really, let me say it in public. I love the topics. I love the issues. I love what you say, because you are very transparent. You are who you are. And from the very first beginning, I talked to you on the phone. I don't know how we met. We haven't, I don't know. I don't know how, but then
I
you
think
came.
it was in Equatizo. Wasn't it in
Yes,
Equatizo?
yes. It was Equatisol. Yeah. And then you came to Peru along with Araceli, Rana, and other people from other countries. And I just love what you say, because you go right to the point, and you talk about topics that we usually talk like, and we don't want our bosses.
I have paid my prices for that.
Listen to us. So thank you so much for that. Yeah. Okay, so let me give a few minutes to the other people who wants to express something, and we still got 10 more minutes. So anybody in any country, Bolivia, Morocco, Mexico, Ecuador, Bolivia, Argentina.
I have a question.
My goodness, Irma Guzman.
Me too.
Okay,
Yeah.
but let's be brief and concise.
Very
Concise.
specific.
I was just checking your phonetics.
Yeah, very specific. Marina, yeah. Marina, question. This 3 months that you are going to be doing different workshops and including different topics, my question is, how long does each workshop or presentation last? It's like has a time frame or what?
It's each meeting is 3 hours, and
Okay.
the ones in December are more art-like, because we're going to have theater games and things of the sort. In February, we're going to produce some that are more related to, or more to study skills. Okay. And during January, we have already sent them five classic novels to read.
Okay.
So that we also give them a reading for pleasure experience.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I think that's fantastic.
Thank you,
And that's a great compliment for the theoretical and everything that you're teaching. Thank you. Good job.
Yes. Mexico, Araceli Salas, the ambassador of Mexico.
I am also a fan of Marina. I started following you when you were studying adult education, because that's one of my topics. And my question is, how long is a complete program?
4 years and a half. Which is really a sweet way of saying 5, right? Because the last half is it's 4 years and a half, but for people who, because university degrees, they have a minimum amount of hours, and that places us, we have a curriculum that has 6 subjects per term. 2 of them are yearly subjects, which are the ones in English, which are called prácticas y cursivas, and it lasts, it says 4 years and a half, but for those people who have to attend the CPI, it lasts a year longer. But what is important for us is that traditionally, people who wanted to study but didn't have access to private education or couldn't fulfill their dream. And it is the obligation of a public university to allow that. So the people with the CPI will take 6 years to graduate, but they can do it. They have the
Thank you. Carlos, be brief, please. Be brief. Carlos from Ecuador, the ambassador.
Thank you. Miss, what do we have to take into account when we create a syllabus? Because most of the books, they have a conservative outlook, and they are not going to tell us the topics that you have brought us today, this morning. So what can we do to create a syllabus, Miss?
Use the descriptors. The general descriptors for the Common European Framework, the 2019 version, okay? They provide you with a variety of, when they ask you when they tell you people are expected to exchange in normal everyday situations. All right, what is normal everyday situation? There you got it. Talking at the buying and shopping, going to the restaurant, getting on the elevator. Okay. Then when they talk about familiar topic or general school topics, okay? Geography, history, mathematics. Okay.
Okay. Next, somebody else from another country.
May I?
Please, Maria Teresa in Bolivia.
Thank you. I just want to thank Marina and all of you for the different topics that were explained. I think they're really useful and something that we can apply to our daily professional life in the teaching process. The issues brought up by Marina today are very controversial and require a lot of thinking on the teacher to handle it into the classroom, because they can create different kind of reactions. And particularly, I have to be careful on not to have a, kind of problems among students as well, since I teach university students. But they are really interesting, and we should start thinking about them and trying to put them into practice to obtain good results in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maria Teresa in Bolivia.
One comment, Maria Teresa, there is something that is being stressed here in Argentina is the need for ESI, we have a law that is Educación Sexual Integral. I mean, I think that if we start, it will take us time at university, but if we start in lower, at school dealing with that identity, okay, who we are, who I am, no, it's not sex, it's gender, it's rights, then we will be able to deal with this later on, but we need to start from first years of school.
Yes, you're right. I think
you.
that's important.
Yeah, thank you so much. Anybody else, please? We still got 2 more minutes. Nasser in Morocco.
Oh, thanks a lot. Really, I'm very, very happy to hear all of this advice from you, Professor. And I'm very, very happy, as I said to you the first time, to be here. So it's the first time with you. So I'm a physics student from Morocco. And I'm very, very happy because we study here in Morocco, we study with French language. So I speak French fluently and Arabic as a native speaker. And I try, I spent 2 years of this language for speaking fluently English. And exactly, I follow Barbara Oakley, learn how to learn in her conferences, and Stephen Krashen and his advices for taking any language. And really it's very, very perfect and nice. And I have a question, just as all of you as a native speaker in Spanish, and I would like to know more information, and because I'm very, very interested of this language, because it's very productive, very have really a lot of professors perfect in all of the world. So I need to know more about the Spanish language. Thank you so much for my question.
No, thank you, dear Nasser. Thank you so much. You are the youngest in this group, I guess. And welcome.
Oh, thanks a lot.
Join us whenever you want. We will have our next meeting on December 19th at the same time. By the way, what time is it in Morocco now?
Right now is 5 to 5 p.m.
5 to 5 p.m. Okay, okay. Thank you so much, Nasser. Come whenever you want. You are you and your friends are invited.
It's good to hear your French in your English. There's a touch of nasal sound when you hum that is so French. It's beautiful.
So you speak 3 languages,
Nasser. Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Arabic, yeah, Arabic, French, and English too. And I right now I'm with a professor in my college. She helps me for taking this language, and I have a lot of members in as friends from Canadians, from Bolivia, from Costa Rica, because I spend a lot of time in Hello Talk application for talking with them and exchange my language with them as a foreign language.
Well, Nasser, now you have friends in Peru, in Argentina, in Bolivia,
Absolutely.
in Mexico,
Absolutely.
in Ecuador, in Canada. So welcome, dear Nasser. The honor is ours. Okay, Raj, maybe you want to say something?
Well, thank you. I really appreciated this. I think the role of teachers is so much expanding into becoming more aware and being educators. And I love what Carlos says. A lot of people want to come to Vancouver. And that's
I want to visit you. I just
and
want
now
to...
you know that I live in Vancouver, so please come, but not all at the same time. Such a pleasure to be with you and to learn so much more about how much education is such an important aspect of our lives. And that's why I wake up at 6:30 in the morning to be with you.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, dear Raj. Before your final words today, dear Marina, let me remind you about our next and the last meeting Sunday the 19th. We will have these 4 wonderful ladies. I don't know why there are not boys. I don't know. Do not ask me. We will be reflecting about everything we need to be grateful to about these 2 difficult, beautiful, horrible, but also wonderful years. It's been negative, but also positive. So we are going to focus on the positive things. Okay. All right. So Marina, you want to say something before we say goodbye?
I just want to thank everybody. It's beautiful to be able to share with these colleagues and friends and because your feedback allows me to keep on thinking and developing. So thank you very, very, very much.
No, thank you.
Thank
dear
you.
Thank you, dear Marina. Thank you, Roxy in Peru, Raj in Canada, Maria Zambrano in Bolivia. By the way, Maria, next year, along with Anthony Michael, and I hope Marco Aparicio and other people will be speakers in our international meetings. Okay, Maria Zambrana, Anthony Michael.
Yes,
I promise. Okay,
will.
and Marco Aparicio too from Mexico.
This was not a very nice year for me this year, but I also want to say to Marina, thank you very much. I enjoy your presentation and it will be very useful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much to you, dear friend.
Thank you. And Marco Aparicio, we invite you in public to be a guest speaker next year. And the same with Anthony and Maria Teresa. And why not, Nasser? You and your friends could be part of our presentators next year. Presenters, thank you. I'm just checking your Lexis.
I knew you were.
Every time I don't know anything, that's what I say. So Nasser, thank you so much. Angelina Ortega, Daisy Silvina, see you in 2 Sundays. Have a very, very nice Sunday. Bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you, Marina.
Everybody.
Marina.
Be safe.
Thank you.
Keep safe. Wear your mask.
Yeah, be safe. Be safe.
Be safe. Wear your mask. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.